Well, good morning. Well, good evening. Evening. Today's Saturday, January 16th, and this is bedtime stories. Sorry, Saturday, January 16th. Let's hear from our Disney story, shall we? So today, we're going to hear from a story from the Great Mouse Detective, and it's called Basil Saves the Day. It was young Olivia Flaversham's birthday, and she was celebrating with her dad. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. You like my sound effect? Mr. Flaversham told Olivia to stay in the cabinet while he investigated. Olivia hid, but then she heard a commotion. She peeked her head out to see what was happening and saw a big, scary bat grab her father. Olivia needed help, and so she set off to find Basil, the great mouse detective. Basil knew who the bat was. His name was Fidget, and he worked for Basil's arch enemy, Professor Ratigan. Later that evening, as Basil paced back and forth, Olivia screamed. Fidget had peered in the window. Basil, Olivia, and Basil's friend Dawson raced outside and followed the bat to a toy shop. Inside, Basil noticed that mechanical parts were missing from many of the toys. Suddenly, Fidget jumped out of a toy cradle. The bat stuffed Olivia into a bag and flew away. Now Basil and Dawson had to save Olivia and her father. Dawson showed Basil a piece of paper that Fidget had left behind. It had come from the riverfront. The two tracked down Fidget and followed the bat to Ratigan's secret lair. But Basil had walked right into a trap. Ratigan tied Basil and Dawson to a mousetrap and then left. Basil thought hard. He calculated the timing of the trap and came up with a brilliant idea that would save them. Ready, steady, now, Basil yelled to Dawson. They were free. Basil and Dawson found Olivia and raced to the Buckingham Palace. There they discovered what Ratigan was up to. He had forced Olivia's father to build a robot replica of the Queen. Then Ratigan had replaced Queen Moustoria with the robot. A huge crowd was listening to the robot Queen. It was announcing that Professor Ratigan was her new royal consort. Off stage, Basil and Dawson finally took control of the robot Queen. Ratigan's plan was foiled. Basil rushed on stage and yelled, "Arrest that fiend!" Ratigan was defeated, but even better, Olivia and her father were reunited at last. You know what I think of? I love this song, "Reunited and it feels so good." Yeah, I don't know why I just did that, but that's a good song. I've actually quoted that song when I do funerals. I quote that song because, when we remember that when our loved ones die, at least for me, you hold on to the faith that they are reuniting with others who had gone before them. So anyway, let's hear our woman of the daring woman. Let's hear another story of a fearless daredevil and rebel, a woman. So let's hear about Mildred Burke, and she was the queen of the ring. So let's hear what her life was like. Mildred was a young mother without a high school diploma working as a waitress. She needed to change, but what else could she do? She went on a date to a pro wrestling match where she was one of the few women among thousands of men. She was fascinated by the strength, power, and control of the wrestlers. So she wanted to try it and asked the wrestling manager to train her. He refused. She kept asking. Finally, he told her he'd set up a match with an 18-year-old male wrestler. Mildred didn't know the wrestler had been told to body slam her, so she stopped pestering the manager. But he didn't get the chance because Mildred pinned him. The manager asked for a rematch. Mildred pinned the same wrestler again. She was on her way to becoming one of the world's best lady wrestlers. She took training very seriously, lifting weights, watching her diet, and exercising daily. She started wrestling in carnivals. Her manager would offer $25 to anyone who could pin her in 10 minutes, and nobody could. She liked to be called Millie. So Millie was strong, but she was also smart. Science was her advantage. She used her opponent's own weight as leverage against them. She studied all types of moves and holds and practiced until she mastered them. Her signature move was the alligator clutch, a speedy spinning maneuver that tied her opponent up like a pretzel. Her quickness in the ring earned her the nickname the Kansas Cyclone. In 1936, she moved from the carnival circuit to sporting arenas. As her reputation grew, so did her fame. Newspapers and magazines wrote about her. Newsreels showed her wrestling by day in lots of makeup and going out at night in silk dresses and high heels. She wanted to prove that women could be successful athletes in a tough male-dominated sport and still maintain their femininity. All throughout her career, she encouraged women to try wrestling. In November 1954, she took a group of women wrestlers to Japan for several matches. At first, the Japanese were stunned. The idea of women wrestling shattered long-held traditions of proper female behavior, but they accepted the strength and grace of the sport. A year later, the All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling Association was formed. After winning more than 5,000 matches, Millie retired from the ring and became a trainer and manager. Her wrestlers were known as Millie's Girls, and they continue to prove that women are quite capable of being queens of the ring. So that is, there's that Netflix show about women wrestlers, and for some reason, I'm not able to think about it. Think of the title, but that's a good show. If you ever want to watch something about women wrestlers, it's a good show. So anyway, God bless you all. Stay safe.